This video is going to look at graphs for categorical variables or categorical data. How do we display that or kind of make sense of it? So recall that categorical variables sort individuals into categories. So it doesn't, the numbers that you get if you have numbers for categorical variables, or it doesn't give you numbers. The numbers don't mean something really. They're just ways to organize. This leads us to two main ways that we're going to present categorical data. The first is a pie chart, and you've probably seen these before. The way you do this is you divide each circle into slices, or you create a circle, you divide it into slices, and one should be for each category. And then you size each slice to match the percentage of the total kind of data set that each category represents. So that's easier to explain if we show an example here. So in this example, we've got two pie charts. On the left, we have one for De Anza College, and presumably this is, say, for students. So how many are full-time, how many are part-time? On the right, we have Foothill College, how many are full-time, how many are part-time? Or maybe it's employees, it doesn't particularly matter. But the point is, we see that for De Anza College, 59.1% of the students are part-time. And so we have a slice of that pie that takes up 59.1% of the circle. At Foothill College, 28% are full-time. So we see that we have a slice of the circle that's 28%. You're never going to have to do this by hand. It doesn't really matter. This is just knowing that if you wanted to, you'd put your information into a computer program and have it spit out a pie chart for you. It can also calculate a pie chart for you if you put in all the data. The second data that we're going to look at, or second chart that we're going to look at for categorical data, is a bar chart. So the way that you do this is you list the categories on one axis and then you number the other axis. So this can be horizontal or vertical. You can do categories on the X or categories on the Y. So one example might be like this. The other would be categories and number. And that's just basically aesthetics, or what makes it easier to make sense of the data. For each category, create a bar equal to the number of individuals. So if there's 50 people that in a category, that category should go up to 50. Now here's an important point to distinguish it from something we'll look at later. You should typically have or leave space between the bars. If it's a bar chart, the bars should not be right next to each other. They should be spread out slightly and have space between them. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. Maybe statisticians will get kind of upset with you, but it is an important thing to kind of start building into, and we'll explain why when we talk about histograms later. So here's an example of a bar chart, and this actually is a good example of where we don't quite see that perfectly. So we do see a split between the two colleges, but ideally we might also have a split here between the full-time and part-time. But again, for aesthetics, you do have a little bit of flexibility here. But you can see, we can look at this data and see that the bar for full-time De Anza goes up to 9,200, which pretty much matches where you'd expect that on this graph. One that goes up to 13,000 kind of matches where we'd expect. So this is a bar chart. If we want to compare them, pie charts are more useful for percentages. If percentages are what you want to display, and that's kind of a no-brainer because that's what they do show. Bar charts are more useful for absolute quantities, so like the absolute value that there is. So if you want to be showing, oh, there's 30 of this and 50 of that, a bar chart is what you're going to want to use. If you're wanting to show 2/3 of the people like ice cream and 1/3 like pie, a pie chart will typically be more useful.